Have you ever heard of the term unindicted co-conspirator, Brandon?
Oh yeah, I listened to a lot of documentaries on crimes in the past that involve, people turning on their co-conspirators, moles, informants, etc. And I'm big into that kind of thing.
Who do you guys think is the most famous unindicted co-conspirator that we have dealt with, let's say, in the past 5 years?
He's very orange. He's got a lot of interesting tics and verbal ways of being.
Maybe. Yes, it is Donald Trump, of course. In the indictments that came down, he was an unindicted co-conspirator when what's his face Cohen, the lawyer, got indicted, and Donald Trump was an unindicted co-conspirator. Well, apparently, Tucker Carlson did not learn what that word meant and has taken the indictments that came out of the January 6th attack and has read these documents with the help of some news organization, and apparently now thinks that an unindicted co-conspirator is necessarily an FBI agent, as opposed to maybe somebody who, A, they couldn't indict but was a conspirator, or B, maybe just gave evidence, because they got busted and turned on, somebody else. But here's Tucker Carlson last night with his latest theory.
But strangely, some of the key people who participated on January 6th have not been charged. Look at the documents. The government calls those people unindicted co-conspirators. What does that mean? Well, it means that in potentially every single case, they were FBI operatives. Really? In the Capitol on January 6th. For example, one of those unindicted co-conspirators is someone government documents identify only as Person 2. According to those documents, Person 2 stayed in the same hotel room as a man called Thomas Caldwell, an insurrectionist, a man alleged to be a member of the group the Oath Keepers.
Wilford Brimley?
Person 2 also, quote, stormed the barricades at the Capitol.
Pause it. Let's think about who might have spent time in that hotel room with him. Maybe it was his wife. Not necessarily an FBI operative.
No, but he's trying to say that the only way that they could be named as unindicted co-conspirators is if they were FBI informants going in.
I am willing to believe that everyone who invaded the Capitol was in the FBI that day. That's how far I'm willing to go with this.
The deep state.
Well, first off, being an informant is not the same as being an operative.
Yeah. I just want to say real quick, I'd like Tucker to, because now that he found out about FBI informants, to do a segment about Red Fawn Fallis, who was arrested at Dakota Access Pipeline for a gun that was brought there and planted on her by an FBI informant. So welcome, Tucker, to like this elementary lesson in civil libertarianism.
Wait till Tucker finds out what happened to the Fort Dix 5, or just about 85% of every Muslim person arrested for supposedly plotting against the United States government over the past 20 years. But continue.
Also eco-terrorists.
Oh,
yeah,
exactly.
Right.
A man alleged to be a member of the group the Oath Keepers. Person 2 also, quote, stormed the barricades at the Capitol on January 6th alongside Thomas Caldwell. The government's indictments further indicate that Caldwell, who, by the way, is a 65-year-old man, this dangerous insurrectionist, was led to believe there would be a, quote, quick reaction force also participating on January 6th. That quick reaction force, Caldwell was told, would be led by someone called Person 3, who had a hotel room and an accomplice with him. But wait. Here's the interesting thing. Person 2 and Person 3 were organizers of the riot. The government knows who they are, but the government has not charged them. Why is that? You know why. They were almost certainly working for the FBI.
You should do 9/11 next.
FBI operatives were organizing the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, according to government documents. And those two are not alone. In all, Revolver News reported that there are, quote, upwards of 20 unindicted co-conspirators in the Oath Keeper indictments, all playing various roles in the conspiracy, who have not been charged for virtually the exact same activities, and in some cases, much, much more severe activities, as those named alongside them in the indictments. Huh? So it turns out that this white supremacist insurrection was, again, by the government's own admission in these documents, organized at least in part by government agents. Are you shocked? We're shocked. We shouldn't be shocked. Because in March, the FBI director admitted that the Bureau is infiltrating as many dissident groups that oppose the regime as it possibly can.
First off, unindicted co-conspirator does not necessarily mean that they have any relationship to law enforcement other than probably, well, it could mean they have absolutely no relationship to law enforcement, or it could be that they have turned evidence on their fellow indicted conspirators, co-conspirators, or it could mean that they're informants. But the idea that they're operatives is absurd. And it's amazing how he thinks like, yeah, you all know this. What?
I feel like if you tell me not to be, not to be a reductionist, that the Oath Keepers are full of cops and snitches, I believe you. Whether or not that has anything to do with the active planning of January 6th in the holistic sense is, unlikely, debatable. There are plenty of, terrorist attacks in America that have to do with the FBI, the CIA, FBI that you could look into. This seems like, in my opinion, a way to avoid blaming anybody for anything, ultimately, because he's also against any real investigation into what happened. And really, he wants to keep this at the level of like conspiratorial thinking. So where it's, it's just the fault of this vast government deep state who is nameless and unnameable when they want to do a commission on it. They wanted to find out like who was responsible, who was texting, why was Roger Stone there? They wanted to find it out. Well, and
it's funny you mentioned conspiratorial thinking.
Wait, but that is the point, is that I kept waiting for him to end the whole rant by going, I demand that we have a commission, a 9/11 style commission on this to get to the bottom of this. I mean, that's what's going to be next. But I think Emma's point was something about conspiracy. What?
Yeah, I mean, it's odd that you say that, Brandon, because Tucker himself would never organically delve into the waters of conspiracy, but he seems to have a source for this initial theory that many in the audience might be familiar with.
It is overwhelming, the evidence that criminal elements of the federal government provocateured and staged January 6th. And I saw it coming. I warned people they were going to pull a false flag.
I mean, Trump is part of the government.
The way they roped in a bunch of people through Q, and the way they infiltrated the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and others. And now, because of court documents that have come out, it's confirmed that 20 FBI agents, actual agents, and informants led the attack with a consortium of Antifa, like Jaden X on record admitting days before they were going to try to burn the Capitol down. And of course, the police were put in the middle of it, undermanned by design. This was a psychological warfare operation to manipulate a crowd. And President Trump was set up. I was set up. And I've been saying that since the day it happened. But I've been in contact with the great folks over at Revolver News. I've been working with them some, giving them my feedback on this for several weeks. I had been working with other folks to get the information, obviously, out to the great Tucker Carlson. And Tucker did a really splendid job last night. So I'm going to air the entire 15-minute monologue coming up. And then the investigative journalist from Revolver News.
Yeah, there you go.
That can't possibly be legal to just air 15 minutes of uninterrupted content from Fox News on your platform. But Otherwise, I have to say, as somebody who listens to a lot of legitimately like conspiratorial thinkers, like people who think that viruses are fake, not just vaccines are fake, but viruses themselves, there is a pretty good consensus that Alex Jones is a government shill. Like people who actually like really believe in conspiracies, not like the Facebook, Fox News adjacent conspiracies. Like they are very convinced that like if you're on Alex Jones, if you're like promoting your conspiracy on Alex Jones, like you're a shill, you're a government plant. Like because Alex Jones is so over the top that his role is to delegitimize the idea of conspiracy theories in, not necessarily mainstream media, but like, mainstream adjacent media, like Fox News, like online. His clips are always shared as an example of how crazy conspiracy thinkers are. Because the truth is, who knows? The FBI might have been involved in planning the, the January 6th uprising at the Capitol. There is suspicion that government employees were involved in some way, shape, or form, but we're not being allowed to investigate that. So, it just becomes, I think, in my opinion, a little bit more revealing of like what this is actually serving when you have somebody so well positioned as Tucker Carlson to be like, hey, he could just call for the commission. Like, hey, you know what? If you really want to know what happened, he's not some random podcaster on SoundCloud with like 100 followers. Like I'm talking about myself. He could call up, ex-President Trump or any number of Republicans he knows personally to demand that there be an investigation, a real one.
I've always contended that if Alex Jones didn't exist, the CIA would have invented him, just as a way of basically leading people down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but of course any investigation by the deep state government would be completely tainted because of the Democrats who are eating babies who would be involved in any such bipartisan commission. So the only truth tellers can be the people from the outside who piece information together, like Alex Jones. And then downstream from Alex Jones is Tucker Carlson. We've always said that, but to have such clear evidence of it there where Alex goes, I reached out to Tucker Carlson.
I wonder if that's even true, but it's possible. Who knows?
Okay. I mean, at least he had involvement. I believe it's totally possible that by some back channel, Alex Jones's people have the email address of producer over at Tucker Carlson tonight, and they sent it to him. And there's like a few degrees of separation since it was published by that Revolver publication, and then they go all for it.
When does Jimmy Dore cover that?
Oh, tonight.